The Drop Back with Sam Lewis, Matt Burns-Peak and Joe Costanzo.
And we're back with another episode of the Drop Back podcast. I'm Sam Lewis and as ever joined down the line by Joe Costanzo.
Me and you for eternity, Slew. That's the way it was always meant to be.
Yeah, or until Matt can't find anything better to do.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's right, Matt.
He's broken his streak, though. He's broken the streak. You
1 week is not a streak.
No, he had 2 weeks consistently where he didn't come in and the Dolphins won.
I get what you mean. Yeah. So
and now he's gone. He's just not in. He's just disappeared off the face of the earth.
What? So you think he planned to not be able to do it this week in the hopes that the Dolphins would be able to win?
Yeah. I think he fully planned that. I think he was.
We go with that cynical approach.
I think he was hoping for a cheeky late in the season playoff push.
That would have been a true underdog story, though. Imagine if they'd actually made the playoffs.
Yeah, that would be the stuff of legends. Like, they would make films about it. They actually would. It would be a film in like 20 years. Well, maybe 10, maybe even less.
You're just going to make that film anyway.
Or at least a very good season of All or Nothing.
That would have been good if they had been the All or Nothing team.
It still might.
All right, so before we do get to the NFL games, week 4 now of the Uni Ball season, and congratulations to UEA Pirates with their first ever Premier League win, 24-0 over last season's finalists, Hertfordshire Hurricanes, and that's now 5 losses on the bounce for Hertfordshire, including the final loss last year.
Well, yeah. If we're including that, I thought you were just saying they were like 0-5. I was like, I don't know. I think you know how weeks work, Slew. But yeah, no, it's a surprising one. It's a surprising start to the season for sure, considering they came into the season with so much hype around them, given where they were last year. But I thought UEA might be a team coming in with like an 0-2 record into this, that they might have a team to, contend with, or at least score some points this week. And I'm not being harsh here. They just haven't scored any points at all.
They scored last week.
Oh, shit. Yeah, good point. Well made. But other than that...
But not as many as they conceded. Let's go with that.
I wasn't being literal, I was just being,
You said the words, literally haven't scored any points.
That's all subjective, Slew.
It's not subjective. We're recording it.
Nah, this is all subjective. Well, it is by the time I edit that bit out, obviously.
Okay, the other team kicking off their campaign technically already played a game, but had to forfeit due to suspensions. Coventry Uni Jets, not how they wanted their first ever Premiership game back in the Premiership to go. Long trip up to Scotland and to get beaten 21-0. It must be disheartening for the Jets.
Yeah, I think after that long hype train that we were kind of building, waiting for Coventry's return, obviously they were banned from the first week of the season due to that incident, and then with that second game being called off for weather conditions, and all the hype was building around Coventry Jets. We saw a few Insta posts come out, and I was really getting into it, but obviously, Stirling are a tough team anyway to play at all. And as your first game of the season, coming in with one loss in the bag just due to circumstance, I think having your first Premier League game be against Stirling, who we know have got a very big physical team, a tough team to play for your first game of the season, for sure.
Yeah, then we had 4 undefeated teams going into the weekend. Birmingham Lions trouncing Swansea 39-8, and that Birmingham defence in particular is looking really nasty now.
Yeah, definitely. I think they've kind of, for me, I've got the sort of hot seat for a deep playoff run, kind of just out of what I've seen so far in the season. And I think Birmingham is definitely up there with these high scoring matches where they're just obliterating people. Their defensive line is just amazing, and they're coming. I think I've got them in the hot seat for a deep playoff run. I can imagine them getting to the final this year. But on that note, Leeds Beckett beating Durham Saints in a very sort of Leeds Beckett-esque way, like I'm not being mean. I just mean
No, you're absolutely right. Sorry, keep the clock running, keep it on the ground, and then just sort of crush them on defense.
Yeah,
13-12 at home. I think Durham would have fancied themselves coming into this one, and they would definitely circle the return trip as one they'll want to get revenge in. But these two divisions, well, especially between Carnegie and the Saints, looks like it may come down to the wire. Two very evenly matched teams so far this season.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I can imagine Leeds Beckett getting to the final against Birmingham. It would be interesting because they have shown the capability to grind it out, and as we've seen through the years in the Prem anyway, and win like the tough games, which is what their result was against Durham. But it's interesting to see how they would fare against some of the South's teams like Birmingham and UWE, for example, like some of those high-powered offenses. I'm not saying Durham isn't a high-powered offense coming into the game. We were talking about them last week, but I think with the talent on that UWE offense, it would be interesting to see that match up against that big physical defense that Leeds Beckett has.
No, you're absolutely right. It's going to be looking forward to the playoffs, but let's not wish the season away, though, Joe. It's great while it's here.
But I like speculating, you know.
You do like speculating. And there is going to be a more in-depth breakdown, as every week, by Matt Burns-Peak on our website, thedropback.com. That should be coming out. It'll probably be out by the time this podcast comes out.
Indeed.
So make sure if you do want any more information on these games, do go check out those articles. They are fantastic.
Pantismo
indeed. So moving on to something that didn't start off so Fantismo with the Cleveland Browns season. We were talking before earlier in the show about maybe the Dolphins making a late payoff push, jokingly, but the Browns might actually do it, you know. They're 10th in the seed, but they're one game back from the Steelers in 6th place, who were 6-5, Browns are 5-6. And if you look in the run in the Browns have, I think we mentioned this a few weeks ago about how it is soft on the second half of the season.
No, it's really soft. Like
at the Steelers versus the Bengals, at the Cardinals versus the Ravens, at the Bengals. Yeah. Realistically, if you're the Browns, I mean, are you expecting them to go 4-1 in those games?
Yeah, this is what I would have predicted them to go at least 4-1. I think they might squeeze out a win against the Ravens potentially, given their performance against them last time we played them. But and we do have a tendency to lose to the Browns or the Bengals or just some stupid teams every year because we do. But I mean, I favour them against the Steelers. We saw them beat the trash Steelers the other week, but now they're going to be doing that without Myles Garrett. But I just don't trust Mason Rudolph against that defense at all. I favour them against the Bengals because they're the Bengals. They're terrible. I favour them against the Bengals of both their games, so that's 3 out of 5 wins. They're probably I kind of favour them. I favour that defense against the Cards. And I think the Cards defense is easy enough to score against. That's why
I think it's down to is that 2-week stretch.
Yeah.
They've given themselves a very good chance of going to the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure.
But Kitchens, if they do make it to the playoffs,
it's kind of like 2 years of the same thing.
In the playoffs, they squeak one out somehow, and then they lose in the divisional round.
I can imagine that happening.
Do you go into the season then with Kitchens still in place?
I personally wouldn't. I know that if we were somehow, the Browns owner, I would think, it's just the talent we've got around this team. Someone's got to be, and this is kind of what happened last year with Freddie Kitchens. He brought the Browns back after Hugh Jackson got kicked out of town to win the latter half of their season. Maybe that's just how he works, maybe relying on soft, and it was a softer schedule last year as well. But
yeah, it was. You're absolutely right. But they've got Baker going back to what he did well at the end of last year. More quick passes rather than, because they don't have the O-line to hold up on the deep passing game. They're riding Nick Chubb and going quick passes through the air rather than having Baker drop back and then have to run around a lot because he obviously can't sit in the pocket too long behind that line.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say this. The thing that may cost the brand in the end. There's still way too many penalties. You'd have
Yeah.
thought after last week, what happened with the ejections and the fights, that maybe they'd have clamped down and been a bit more disciplined in practice this week. But again, just penalties all over
Mate.
the shop.
Well, that starts with the coaching in the first place. You can tell a team is well coached by how often they get penalised. How often do the Patriots get penalised? Very little, because they're well regimented. They've got great coaching, but Freddie Kitchens hasn't really shown to have control of this team. And I think even with a late playoff push, I don't think that's down to Freddie Kitchens as much as it is just the talent on this Browns roster. And the only thing I would say against this, like possibly going 4 or 5, or potentially them losing both to the Cards and the Ravens, is they don't have Myles Garrett anymore, who was a massive help in the pass rushing this year. Olivier Vernon may be out again when they're playing the Steelers, but I still favour them to beat the Steelers. Ogunjobi is coming back after that 1 week suspension, and Joe Schobert and OBJ have had sort of like niggling groin injuries. Just so it's kind of like,
It's teetering. It could go either way.
Yeah,
You get a couple more injuries and then you're sort of floundering a little bit in the water.
Yeah,
I really thought you were going to turn that Kitchens point into a massive round against the Patriots and penalties and how the refs had the refs in their pocket rather than complimenting Bill Belichick. I was really on the fence of which way you were actually going to take that one.
No, honestly, yeah. But I mean, they did get some absolute terrible calls last week against the Cowboys. So many tripping calls that were just obviously people falling over in the rain.
I can't remember the last time I saw a tripping penalty in the NFL. Genuinely.
There were two in that game, and it was obviously people falling over because it was wet. And it's just like, how are you calling these tripping? I don't understand. I don't like. Are they fucking idiots? Like, are they morons? Some of the NFL officiating has just been terrible this year. Let's be honest.
And it's come back in the news. It sort of went out. People get used to it and then it went out of the news cycle a bit. And then there was that DeAndre Hopkins PI against the Ravens.
Oh my
that last
God.
week.
Yeah,
and then the fumble recovery against the Colts this week on Thursday Night Football, where it just wasn't reviewed because there wasn't a clear. That should definitely have been reviewed. Just review it.
That sealed the game. It sealed the game for the Texans, and it's just like, I don't understand how these things are getting overlooked. You have
at least it wasn't an important match. I don't know, between two division leaders tied at the top of the race near the playoff rush time.
That really pissed me off as well. Like, I don't get it. I don't get some of these decisions that are being made, and they're things that are costing games. I mean, obviously the Houston Ravens one, we kind of smashed them anyway. But there have been many times this season where like just terrible PI calls, no PI calls. It's weird, like you can't really win anything on a challenge. I think they've won one challenge this year. Kyle Shanahan might have won one.
Of course, it was Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, of course it was. But yeah, it's just been so strange. I don't get what's going on, and we're just forced to accept it because it's just that's how it is this year. We just have to put up with the bullshit again, and then they'll make another weird rule change next year, and we'll be stuck in the same mess.
Do you think they will, or do you think they'll just go back and say, "Oh, it clearly doesn't work. We'll just have to trust the refs. There's no overturning anyway."
They can't go back now. They can't go back that soon.
It was implemented as a trial for a season. It's not actually a fixed rule now.
Oh, I don't think that's a good idea. Cause
surely they're not going to do that. They're going to be like, it didn't work. Funny that.
Well, even if it worked once, someone threw a challenge against it, and it was actually an egregious offence. And then at that point, you have to be like, well, it was worth it because
Unless they're just saving it for the playoffs to make a big call there and be like, yeah, it was worth it, but we're going to do it in games that matter.
It's to save their own arses, though. It is.
But then again, that's like saying, the regular season doesn't matter then. We're only going to make those big calls in the playoffs.
Yeah, but you could imagine, right? So let's take, for example, in the Ravens, like we hold people on punts near the end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you would just finish the game on an offensive penalty. If we won the Super Bowl on that, the NFL would probably make a rule against that, and then it would just if anything, just every year there's a big rule change just based on something big that happens in the playoffs. Like it seems to be, Like the what's a catch was stemming from Des Bryant and the Pittsburgh. And
Yeah,
like,
because there was that Calvin Johnson one that happened years prior, and it didn't really gain the. You're right, it didn't really gain the traction until Des
but
won.
it doesn't matter until it's in the headlights, until it's in like a big playoff game. Or
When there's
the
only
Super
one
Bowl.
game off, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only time people give a shit.
Oh, it's a sad, sad world we live in, Joe, where you can't have the referees being perfect.
Yeah, why aren't they machines that just just know everything, like a constantly learning AI that just perfects the art craft of like that is clearly a catch. It's like,
Well,
why? I have learned through millions of specimens of catches that is totally a catch. Like, you wouldn't need any of this stupid bar talk where you're like, no, mate, he definitely had his fucking hand underneath and stuff. It's like, no. Let's just speak to Mr.
Yeah.
Robot. He
What are you gonna
knows-
do? You gonna contradict RoboRef? Not happening.
No, he's got a 99.999987% accuracy score.
But what about that? I can't remember what number you said. Was it 0.0013 or something like that? That doesn't
Yeah,
get it
he
right.
actually- he
then
actually
what, Joe?
thinks
What if that's
that-
it? What if that's in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, but he thinks that was because he thought the Saints Rams game that wasn't pass interference.
Oh, he didn't. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. It's
Well,
actually
it-
it's a pretty big one actually.
Yeah, well, it wasn't pass interference, was it?
Apparently not.
That's the thing. Would that then be reviewed? Though? That's from what we've seen so far this season. Would that actually get overturned?
Could do. It could do because
No, but I mean, like, look at the Hopkins one. That wasn't overturned, and that everyone is clearly in agreement that that was pass interference.
No, but
would they still not overturn that one based on the
that's-
evidence we've seen?
The whole like the fact that they based it on that rule, they would definitely overturn it at that point because that is egregious. Like, you are literally tackling someone who doesn't have the ball before they get the ball. That is definitely pass interference, mate. Like, at that point. But then again, that Hopkins one, that was more. I guess it wasn't so clear of a I'm hitting you to stop you getting the ball. Before
What about
you get
where
there.
the that Cardinals linebacker got tackled by Kyle Juszczyk because he got in front of him, and then it was called pass interference against the Cardinals linebacker? I can't remember what his name was. It was
Dunno.
last week. And then Kyle Juszczyk tackled him from behind, and it was called pass interference still after review against that Cardinals linebacker because he happened to be in front of him.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous, Joe.
These whole pass interference calls have just been ridiculous this year. It just annoys me.
It annoys you.
But that Patriots Cowboys game was ridiculous. Some of the calls were just stupid. It was clearly people just, if in a game with those conditions, just let them freaking play, man.
Let the boys play.
Let the boys play. Anyway,
Moving on before we get sidetracked any further.
yeah, we're not.
We're at the point now where it's pretty clear who the best teams are in the league. You've got the 3 or 4 in the NFC. You've got the Ravens currently leading the way by a reasonably wide margin in the AFC. Not wins one, just performance-wise.
Yeah.
Are there any teams you can see that are sort of flying under the radar that could make a push for the Super Bowl?
I'm not going to say like a team that is middle of the tier right now. I'm going to say a team that we haven't really given that much respect for, and I'll say the Vikings.
I can't agree
can't.
with you.
You can't.
Just even though they have been playing well, and that
Yeah.
win against the Broncos. Tell you what though, that win against the Broncos last week, it proved me wrong about the Vikings that they can't play from behind.
Yeah, and
partially,
Kirk Cousins
yes.
looks genuinely pretty sick.
Oh, but Joe, this is how you get disappointed by Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, because then he'll go into the off-season and immediately lose. And that was my one question on this whole thing. Can he win in the playoffs? We haven't seen it yet. But Kirk Cousins has been playing out of his mind, especially since they called him out at nearing the beginning of the season. He's been playing to an almost, like, I don't want to say it, an MVP caliber level.
Oh, you're not being serious, are you?
Well, he's been playing up there. I mean, like, at one point we were talking about Deshaun Watson being an MVP candidate, and why can't we genuinely talk about Kirk Cousins being an MVP
Because
candidate?
you look at the stats, and yes, he's an MVP candidate. You look at the throws he's hitting, and it's Stephon Diggs running wide open down the middle of the field.
He's made some absolute bombs to Stephon Diggs just over the shoulder, like pushing the boundaries of the football. He's not a bad thrower of the football, Kirk Cousins.
He's not a bad thrower of the football. He's not an MVP.
Yeah, but I'm not saying he's made MVP like throws. There are some throws in there this year that I've been like genuinely impressed and been like, well, fuck you.
No, I'm just saying it's just the surprise that you're speaking with, that you're impressed by Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, well, you know, it is what it is.
That's what I was laughing at.
But so, and also, like, obviously, Dalvin Cook has been like statistically the second best running back in the league behind Christian McCaffrey this year. And if he can keep his pace up, and if they continue to, despite putting the run first, have some success through the air, they're going to make the playoffs at this point.
They are going to make the playoffs.
They're likely to actually, at the moment, the way they're playing, beat out Green Bay in that division. I can imagine. I mean, we're talking about Green Bay as if they can win a Super Bowl, like for the last few weeks, and look how they performed recently.
Yeah, that's true.
So why can't the Vikings win a bloody Super Bowl? I don't understand.
No, that's a fair point. Maybe they can. Maybe they can. I just don't trust him. I completely understand. It just
that.
feels weird to say.
Yeah, I don't. I want to see how he does in that first playoff game, but I can imagine them, like, you know, getting into a bit of a run when it comes to playoff time. I can imagine them at least getting to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Especially in the NFC, it's quite unpredictable. Like, everyone would have taken the 49ers to beat the Seahawks, and they didn't.
They should have done if they could kick, but I suppose they can't kick, and that's part of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, and, you know, Russell Wilson is good at winning close games.
Russell Wilson. So the Seahawks. Speaking of those, were one of the teams I had pinned as a dark horse. I don't know if they can really count. But I suppose if we're going the Vikings, then the Seahawks are a similar level.
Yeah, no, but this wasn't as much like, for me, I wasn't seeing this as much as, you know, like a 6-6 team, or like a, you know.
You'll pick someone that people weren't really pushing as part of that Super Bowl conversation.
No one thinks the Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl. But, like, no one's going to put a bet on that. But I think they have a genuine chance. You know, they've got a great defense still, at times. Yeah, intermittent. But they've got definitely a great pass rush.
Defense, running game, and improved quarterback. That's exactly what I've gone for with one of my dark horses.
Go on.
You're going to hate this because they've had a very easy schedule. And that's what people are going to be pointing at. But they're 8-3.
You're saying is it the Bills?
It's the Bills.
Yeah. You've kind of gone for the same thing here, you know. Like,
I feel they're going to need to win a tight scoring game. I can't see them winning a shootout if it gets to that.
Well, we're going to beat them.
You're going to beat them?
Yeah, of course we're going to beat them.
Maybe you are, maybe you're not. Yeah. But, I mean, if we're just going to go with the favourites, then you'd say the Ravens are going to beat everyone in the AFC. This team that probably aren't expected to. But say the Ravens... I don't know. Who else is in that playoff picture in the AFC?
Ravens, Patriots. So they're going to have to beat at least one of them.
See, I feel...
in the playoffs.
I can see them beating the Patriots.
They almost beat the Patriots. Beating the Patriots.
I can see it. I'm not saying they would. I'm not saying I'd pick them. They almost beat the playoffs early in the season before Josh Allen got concussed.
Yeah.
And the Patriots are worse. They're playing in Foxborough.
In the playoffs.
In the playoffs. They've got a good running game. They got a good defense.
Yeah. They do have a good defense. I'll give you that. Their defense is legit. But I don't trust Josh Allen. Like, I actually think their receivers are very good as well. John Brown has really been good this year.
Josh Allen has been on form. He's thrown 1 interception in 6 games.
Yeah, but his schedule has been piss slew. His schedule is an absolute joke. Of course,
you're an absolute joke.
No, I mean, yeah, I am.
No, you're right though. And I did preface that by saying that they have had an easy schedule, and that's what's.
Yeah, but you can't give all this like he's thrown 1 interception in.
Well, I think
4 games. When he's,
what are you saying that no one?
What are his last 4 games?
Deshaun Watson throws interceptions against naff teams.
Yeah, because he's got a naff O-line.
So he still throws them, doesn't he?
Well, he's got a very intermittent O-line. He's got a very good one side of the O-line.
He's got a very good one player on the O-line.
Yeah. And they gave away everything.
Yeah, maybe worth it.
Yeah.
So last 6 games for Josh Allen that he's for the picks. Okay. So fair enough. Miami, Philadelphia, Washington, Cleveland, Miami and Denver.
All right.
Yeah.
So the only ones I can imagine throwing picks to is Browns.
No,
Do they have the Browns?
no. They played the Browns. They didn't throw a pick against the Browns.
I know. I was saying, like, you could justifiably throw a pick to the Browns
Yeah.
because their defense is good, and you could
Denver's defense
justifiably
is
throw.
alright.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
That was
Denver as
that
well.
was the one that was the one he threw a pick for against.
Yeah, because their secondary is amazing still, and their pass rush is good. It's just meh. Their linebackers are meh, and their whole offense is just yeah. That's all
Really
I've got
great
to say on
descriptive
that.
words from Joe Costanzo there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm a wordsmith, mate. A natural poet.
Trying to be something you're not, Joe. Which is what several quarterbacks are trying to do at the moment as well, trying to start games in the
Your
NFL.
transitions are getting so weird.
Yeah, I've been working on them.
Yeah, I could tell. You've been saying them in the mirror and stuff, haven't you? You've been like, I need to slip this in before, just so I can.
I actually just thought of that one off the top of my head. So, in the words of the great
It's
Joe
such a
Costanzo,
natural.
yeah.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Yeah. So QB's paying for starting jobs. Yeah. Do you want to start? Do you want to? I mean, there's a really
All right,
obvious
so-
one.
Go on, who's a really obvious one?
I mean, it's got to be Mitch Trubisky, right?
I thought he'd already lost it.
But I mean,
The Mitch Trubisky one is if the GM is willing to admit he made a mistake, because it's clear to everyone watching that he's not the answer.
I think it is, but I mean, it depends because Matt Nagy has just he's shown that this year he's had an inability to build an offense around Mitch Trubisky's skills and use Mitch Trubisky how he should be used. And I think even though they did win last week quite assuredly, when you look at last year, Trubisky was the third best in QBR. People were saying, oh, get Mitch Trubisky as your fantasy QB this year. He was the third best in the league at QBR. Blah, blah, blah. 2019, he's 31st.
He's also 34th in passing yards per attempt or game, and 33rd in the other one.
Yeah,
There's
it's
32 starting
yards-
quarterback
Is it yards per attempt and
yards per game as well.
Yeah. And let's just a little throw in here. A team that has dedicated to building an offense around the player, Lamar Jackson, who is currently the top in QBR this year. And Matt Nagy showed last year that he built an offense towards Mitch Trubisky's skills, who wasn't amazing, but good, serviceable, good enough that their defense could, put them in good positions, which is all you need to do. That's all the Patriots are doing this
Do you
year.
think partially it's his confidence is shot? Because you're right, last year there were spots where he does look like a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it over for him?
I think when you watch Mitch Trubisky play, whether or not what we say about Matt Nagy's play calling is fair enough, and I think Matt Nagy does have to get some of the blame here, but I can't imagine a scenario where Mitch Trubisky is in Chicago next year.
The scenario is that Ryan Pace doesn't admit that he made a mistake and is like, no, I picked him for the franchise quarterback. Is this year 3 for? This is year 3 for him.
Up
He's
to the second overall pick for him.
I like that they were worried that someone was going to come because they were only third to start.
I know. They traded up. They gave San Francisco a free pick because they were so scared someone was going to take their Mitch. And
Yeah, Mitch.
you whiffed on Deshaun Watson, you whiffed on Pat Mahomes. There's no way he's ever going to be as good as those players. And what we've seen is Mitch Trubisky rolls out, panics, tries to throw it to his check down and fails.
I mean, to be fair about the Pat Mahomes one, no one was that high on Pat Mahomes coming into the draft process. I think Deshaun Watson's the one you can say you whiffed on.
Andy Reid was pretty high on him.
Yeah, and were you high on him, Joe?
I thought he was going to be terrible. We all thought he was going to be terrible.
Well, yeah, well, that's the point of that one.
Yeah, we were watching
Deshaun
that
Watson,
clip of
though, that
him.
won a national championship.
Yeah, I thought
think that's
Deshaun
the one you
Watson
can say
was
you
gonna be
whiffed
good.
on.
Everyone
All right.
knew Deshaun Watson would be good, though.
I know. It's ridiculous.
Who's
Mason
your
Rudolph,
rookie?
he's good. He's lost his job, right? I feel
Well,
Mason
that's
Rudolph.
not even up for question, surely.
Yeah, he's already lost his job to a man named Duck. But Mason Rudolph, in 10 years, he's going to be the trivia question. What he'll be known for is being hit in the head by a helmet rather than being a QB in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know if in 10 years we'll be doing trivia anymore, Slew, but
Well, no one's going to do trivia in 10 years.
no, I think we will evolve past that point. We're going to be bigger creatures, you know.
Can we sandwich bet on that? That in 10 years,
No.
trivia won't be a thing.
Fine, let's do a sandwich bet. I'll do it.
All right. Okay. No, but Mason Rudolph, he's going to be more remembered as that guy that got hit on the head by a helmet.
Yeah, because he got hit on the head by a helmet, and he might have called him a racial slur, but apparently not.
Apparently not. No, he's lost his job. I feel all of these. Kyle Allen has probably lost his job as well. He's thrown 9 picks in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, but also they've. It's quite clear that the Panthers are just putting everything through Christian McCaffrey. Like,
Yeah, which
He
means
is lining up
you should be
everywhere.
throwing less picks. Then that should open the rest of the field up.
no, because teams know he's just forcing it into McCaffrey every time.
The big throws picks out all over the shop. Do you know the one who has surprised me is I think the Brissett's a little bit on the fence. It could go either way. It depends how they finish the season with him, because
Yeah.
he is a game manager. He's not good enough that he will drag a lower quality of team or players not performing.
Jacoby Brissett, we're talking about.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett.
I think Jacoby Brissett is a very good QB. I think
you?
he's genuinely good enough to be a franchise QB in the league. Like,
Wow.
no, because I think with Brissett, it is a game manager style, yeah, but you have to I would have faith in Brissett in most situations in the fourth quarter to at least try to, or like at least, you know,
Well, you'd hope that they'd all try.
yeah, I know that was a stupid comment, but at least, you know, put an effort in and like give us a chance at winning the game. And I couldn't say that for obviously Mason Rudolph and Mitch Trubisky. I wouldn't put them on the same list, to be honest.
No, I don't think he's on the same league. That was why I said he was on the fence. It could go either. I think it depends on how they finish the season.
Yeah, but I don't think the Colts and I don't think the Bears are going to have a good enough pick unless they trade up.
That's another good point.
To
the
actually
one
take advantage of
one
it.
player who I think has earned a job this has been Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill is playing really well.
Yeah, he is. He is playing well. To be fair, he's playing out of his mind, considering he's playing for the Titans and who have been tremendously.
For the Titans. That's
Who,
so
but
rude.
the thing is, the Titans have got genuinely good talent around them, and it's just under Mariota they've just been terrible.
Yeah,
to
he's
be
4-1. He's 4-1 as a starter since he's come in. 10
Yeah.
interceptions, 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 72% completion rate, and he is a threat on the ground like Mariota was.
Does fumble it though? He fumbles
Does.
a lot. I don't have the exact stat on his fumbles, but he's like notorious for fumbling it. And,
It's
and
5. It's 5 in 5 games.
5 in 5 games. That is not good.
It's not good. You're
No.
absolutely right there.
That's terrible. Like, the thing is, I don't know how many of them were lost, but I think the thing, like, if you're a quarterback, turnovers aren't just interceptions; it's fumbling as well. You know. So I don't know. Like, I think he's
As I
very
say,
good.
in the 5 games he's played as well, it haven't been any overly easy games. They beat the Chargers, they beat Tampa Bay, they lost to Carolina, they beat Kansas, and then they beat Jacksonville handily.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not bad, and there's a pretty decent chance that the Titans are probably going to be in the playoffs next year. I think the thing is, for a lot of these quarterbacks on the edge, Cal Allen, Brandon Allen, Ryan Finley, Jeff Driscoll, who are all basically the same player.
Yeah, pretty much.
But then you look at the QB class coming out in 2020, and that's why I think a lot of these on the fence maybe ones probably will go with a no.
Yeah, but I don't know. I can imagine, you know, maybe with going back to Mitch Trubisky for a sec, maybe if they took, it's going to sound weird, but if they took a Tua or traded down and then took Tua maybe early in the second, late in the first, then stick with Mitch Trubisky for his last year of his contract, and then
Just don't pick up his 5th-year option
yeah,
and then wait for 2. Yeah, that's not a bad shout actually.
and then
To be fair,
you could basically play the system you played with Tua under Mitch Trubisky and see how he performs. And then the worst case scenario, Mitch Trubisky plays well.
that Mitch Trubisky plays well. You sign his 5th-year option, then you trade him.
Yeah, yeah, and we don't know how
Joe,
Tua's going to be out. Yeah.
how are the Bears going to trade down?
Oh, they don't have any first round picks, do they?
No.
Well, they might get him in the second.
Does he? I don't think he lasts
No,
that long.
I don't think either.
So
I
there's
don't think
no
he's
way
getting
he lasts past
the Patriots.
Well, not even that, but there's someone will trade back up if he's still there in the 20s.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, you've obviously, so Burrows will be gone first, and then, I think he probably falls just behind Jalen Hurts. I'm gonna say.
What,
I
so you
can
think
imagine.
Jalen Hurts lands in the first?
Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts lands in the end of the first.
There's a lot of sort of
I think it'll go
Could
in
be
like the
good
late 20s sort of thing.
also, except Tua, it seems all the big name quarterbacks going out this draft all begin with J.
Yeah, that is true.
Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Jake Fromm, Jacob Eason, Jordan Love.
That is very weird. That's very strange. That's an interesting thing you picked up on there, Slew. Is
Which is because I've got them all written down in front of me.
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't even intending to talk about. Oh, I guess yeah, we'll talk about that. But
And I think Joe Burrow is going to go number one overall, isn't he, realistically?
yeah, definitely.
Or if he doesn't, he's not making it out. Someone's going to trade up to a second if he doesn't.
Yeah, and then
Justin Herbert, Jacob Eason, those two are the ones that have got this all big arm talent, but could fall either way. Did you watch Justin Herbert this week? Where he
No.
threw those 2 picks against Arizona State?
No, were they bad?
Well, go back and watch Justin Herbert's game tape, not just for this week. I don't get what all the hype is about.
It's a bit like
He's got a
Dwayne
big arm.
Haskins last
All
year.
of it. No, it's not. He's not that. He doesn't make anywhere near as many impressive throws. A lot of his throws are sort of just swing passes that and then screens. It's a lot of that bubble screens, that sort of thing.
That's weird. Is like? I mean, Justin Herbert.
He can throw the ball, absolutely. It's just how I don't get the hype. There's a lot of hype coming out, especially last year as well. There's been all these eyes on him this year. And I don't watch him and think, wow.
It's the same. I think you'd be getting a very similar player to Mitch Trubisky, to be honest. If you took Justin Herbert, I don't want to shoot the gun on like players' careers, especially way before the draft like this, but before I've had time to properly analyze everything.
Yeah, there's plenty of time to shoot them down.
No, but like I think every year teams get so funny about they have to take a quarterback, and they just don't think about the talent that's there. You know, why wouldn't you take a Jalen Hurts and build an offense around him like you people?
That's what
we
you've got
have?
to do. I think that's the kind of thing that's going to start to happen
Yeah.
with the success that Lamar Jackson's had. There are going to be more people picking these athletic ones, and instead of trying to force them into being a pocket passer,
Exactly.
or a few plays designed to highlight their wheels or something like that, build an offense around it.
But do you think
And that's
think those kind of quarterbacks are going to become, you know,
No,
like
I don't. No, not because of that, but I don't think there is another Lamar Jackson.
no. I completely agree with you. Like, there's no
I think it's
one-
easy to say, oh, you could pick a mobile quarterback and then just build a really fun offense and do that. But Lamar Jackson is quicker than everyone else on the field when he steps on.
No, exactly. But
And he can sling it.
well, he's not as quick as Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown
No.
is genuinely quicker than him.
Is he actually?
Yeah, no, they've had foot races and shit. And he's just a little bit quicker than him, but he is. Yeah.
Okay,
but
so
isn't
he's
that
quicker than
mad?
basically everyone on the field, bar Hollywood Brown.
And Hollywood Brown is a 5'8", like proper sprinter, and
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is this like 6'3", lanky. Well, he's actually quite. He's obviously put on a lot of muscle this year, but you know it's just pretty mad. But
You know what, though? Let's get into that.
yeah, because
49ers at Ravens, because we're going to talk about Lamar Jackson. We may as well talk about him in the context of the next game.
Yeah.
49ers coming off a really impressive win against the Packers.
Oh my god.
And the Ravens, at the time of recording, haven't yet played. We do record this before the Monday night games.
That's really unfortunate because I'm well, we're both staying up for the game anyway.
Of course we are, true fans.
We're true fans. But, you know, I think, I mean, the 49ers defensive line had a freaking amazing performance. And, like, it's almost a tale of two Green Bays. Imagine, like, you know, Green Bay against the Raiders, where they don't have any sort of pressure and Aaron Rodgers can just shine. and then Green Bay against the 49ers, and they're getting to him all the time. At one point, I saw he was getting sacked, and then another, I can't remember the defensive lineman, or no, 54. Oh God,
Fred Wagner.
yeah, just
He's so good.
dove across above an offensive lineman and just basically showed like a torpedo, 6 feet across, and just shoulder rammed him. And I was just like, oh my God, he's getting beaten up out there. Like, genuinely, this defensive line is very scary to me, especially with our sort of success in the run, our run offense style. I think it matches up quite well against our scheme, but I also think there's no real way to predict what's going to happen. It's a
But
very
unfortunately,
tough game to
Joe,
call.
that is something you are going to have to do. So
Well-
predict what's going to happen.
What I think will happen is that Jimmy G is going to have a few turnovers, because our defense has genuinely been pretty great this year, especially forcing the ball out and getting turnovers. And I think that's going to lead to short field positions where we can run some of our schemes, our red zone concepts that are really effective at getting into the end zone. That's why Lamar Jackson's had such great stats wise, just been so amazing this year, because we're really good at finishing off in the end zone, and I think that's going to lead the Ravens to edge it.
Also, that's the safest way to pick it as well. You don't have to say the Niners aren't as good as the Ravens. You can say Jimmy Garoppolo's going to throw interceptions.
I mean, I do think he's going to throw interceptions. I think the Niners defense are going to be a genuinely, we're not going to have as much. We're not going to be as explosive this week as we have seen. I don't think we're going to see Lamar Jackson spin everyone out. But then again, I can't predict who is going to look stupid in trying to tackle Lamar Jackson next. Like, it happens every week. Like, grown men who professionally hired hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and millions of dollars a year to tackle people can't tackle this man. He's just a bendy boy. It doesn't make any sense. So that's why I'm going to take the Ravens. Thank you very much. Also,
I
Mark
think I'm
Andrews
leaning-
does bits.
Mark Andrews does do bits, but so does Kittle.
Ooh, yeah, Kittle does.
Kittle does. I think, as it's in Baltimore, I may have to agree with you.
Yeah, that's the other element.
Brandon Williams is fit again, isn't he?
Who, sorry?
Brandon Williams. Your nose
Oh,
tackle,
Brandon
right?
Williams. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
he's coming back. Was he there last week? Or no, he came back.
I see he played against the Texans. I don't know if he played.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, he wouldn't have played last week because that's tonight. So
Yeah, so it was against the Texans.
So he is back. And the Niners' run game hasn't been quite as explosive as it has been in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still going to put up points. I reckon it'll be something like 34-30 or something like that.
34-30.
Or maybe not, because they both like to run it. It goes quite quick.
Yeah, no, I can imagine it being like 24...
27.
24-17 or 24-21.
You reckon you hold them to that few points?
Yeah, I do, because I trust our Brandon Williams against their interior offensive line. He is a wrecking ball. I trust us to get after Jimmy G, and also because the offensive line for the 49ers has actually been a bit of a concern in recent weeks. They seem to be giving away a lot of sacks, especially against the Seahawks the other week.
It's if you time a blitz right when they're in a play action rollout, it does leave them exposed. So if you can time that play call when
we
they're doing
have a lot of blitz packages where we've got like cornerbacks or nickel corners coming over and like cleaning up, and Marlon Humphreys had a few sacks this year off of that. So I can imagine situations like that, just disguising packages to confuse the 49ers and force turnovers. I think we're just going to force turnovers this game.
Okay. And so the next game is something I imagine you'll also be keeping a very close eye on. The Patriots travel to Houston. And
Yes.
if you manage to beat the Niners and the Patriots fall to the Texans, that puts you in the number 1 seed for the AFC.
Provided we win this week,
Provide
tonight.
That's a good point. Yeah, I keep
Yeah.
forgetting you haven't played this week yet.
Yeah, I know. It's a weird one, isn't it? But I am going to be paying a very close attention to this. I stayed up watching the Pats game yesterday. Didn't quite make it through the Green Bay game, but I'm only human, guys. Come on.
He is only human. Remember that.
I'm only human. I'm also British, which is annoying.
I'm British.
I'm all British. And my time zones don't work. But I've got the Pats, surprisingly, beating the Texans. I think it's going to be a tough game. I just don't trust that I think the Pats offense is going to do okay in the running game against the Texans defense. That's where they've shown some issues as of late, signing away their best run defender. And I think the Texans offense relies a lot on that high flying pass. You know, the flashy plays, and I don't think they're going to get many of them against this Pats defense that's been amazingly stout. And Stephen Gilmore's that pick he had last week, that was crazy. Just been playing his absolute heart out. That whole defense has just been amazing against, passing. So I can't imagine the Texans coming out of.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I've gone with the Patriots as well.
Yeah.
Stephon Gilmore just held Amari Cooper without a catch. If he could do a similar job against DeAndre Hopkins, and then they can bracket Will Fuller on the other side, there's no way that Patriots D-line doesn't get after Deshaun Watson consistently.
Yeah.
And what, you going to trust Carlos Hyde to rack up 150 yards against the Patriots in order to keep the game low scoring and tight?
No, I completely agree. But that is kind of what they have to do. Like, if the Texans want to win this game, they're going to have to rely on running the ball. That's apparent. And I don't know why the Cowboys didn't run the ball as much. There were a few times last week against the Patriots that the Cowboys were just throwing the ball on situations where they could run it, and the Patriots had been showing some susceptibility to some runs, and it was terrible weather conditions. You can't really burst away an 80-yarder as easily, but like a good 7 to 10 yard gains at times, and it's just like if a team commits to running,
the Texans have proven to be even more susceptible to the to the run. They just got blown up 130 odd yards by Jonathan Williams and the Colts. Sony Michel is probably going to go off in this one.
Yeah, no, I would definitely pick him up if he's not on your fantasy team.
There's no way that Sony Michel is not in any leagues right now. Week 13, surely not.
There are some idiots out there, Slew.
You need 8 idiots.
That's pretty much what our fantasy league is. 8 idiots.
There's 10 of us.
Yeah, exactly. But there's 8 of them are idiots, and then there's me and Matt.
That's so rude.
Get wrecked, scrub.
That's unbelievably rude.
Yeah, well,
no, but I think a lot been made of the Patriots' offense struggles, but they don't need to pull out that much to beat the Texans. It's going to be Patriots on this one. And, do you ever trust the Texans to win big games?
You hate the Texans.
I do hate the Texans because I don't think they're built to win.
I mean, I know Kev doesn't listen to this, but if he was listening to you right now, he'd be just raging.
Well, screw you, Kev, you're wrong.
He'd also agree with you. But the thing is, I don't know, the Texans have
How can you have the same issues for 3 years and not fix?
Yeah, because you've got Bill O'Brien as your head coach.
For the head coach for this game?
Yeah, I know. And that's why I picked the Pats. I'm not disagreeing with you.
You just pointed out my hatred.
Yeah.
It's more frustration than hatred because you just worry about Deshaun Watson. It's just not even that, he's not going to get... Not even that he's going to get Andrew Luck or anything like that.
Well, I hope Bill O'Brien gets sacked soon.
Hopefully he will. But you just feel bad that someone that's that talented is going to get hamstrung and have to carry a shoddy rest of the team.
Yeah, but he inevitably is going to have to do that for his whole career. But, Russell Wilson's been doing it this year, so why not?
Why not?
And speaking of, Russell Wilson against the Vikings.
Nice. Did you segue that on purpose, just so you can prove you can do it too?
No, I didn't.
With can
I
do.
just realised I mentioned Russell Wilson, looked at my notes and saw Seahawks and was like, wow. I've mastered it. The art. Maybe I should host the next one. Boom. But anyway, yeah, the Vikings at the Seahawks. Who you got, Slew?
I still don't know. I think the
You
Seahawks.
still don't know.
I think the Seahawks. Partially because we're not 100% sure that Adam Thielen is going to be back.
Yeah.
And I like this. I don't know. Because this Vikings offense has been really good again. The thing is, the Vikings front seven has been incredible. But Xavier Rhodes isn't the player he was a year or two ago.
No, but he's also being asked to do a lot more.
Yeah, well, if he's still not performing as well as he could do, it doesn't matter how much he's being asked to do.
Yeah, but you know, like corners when they have that one good year where they or a few good year stint where they come across with a bunch of picks, a bit like God, who plays for the Chargers? I've forgotten his name now. Casey Hayward. Yeah, like he just had a few years where he got loads of picks, and it wasn't necessarily because he was like obviously. It's different kind of play style. Xavier Rhodes like is a lot more physical, but there are just some years where
It doesn't go right. Yeah, fair
or
enough.
just like get lucky and just come up with a few picks that they wouldn't normally get.
Like deflection and stuff like that. I wasn't even talking from a pick's point of view. I'm just saying he seems to be getting beaten more than he has done in the past.
Yeah, and there's been a few more penalties on him as well, like silly like holding and definite defensive, like not even like a trendish. What am I trying to say?
To try that again.
Egregious pass interference calls, but I think like you said, Xavier Rhodes has been meh, but I think the rest of this Vikings defense is been amazing. I am going with the Vikings because you're sitting on the fence.
I'm going with the Seahawks.
You are going with the Seahawks.
I'm going with the Seahawks.
You were kind of making it. You started off saying you were going for the Seahawks, and then started listing off all the great things about the Vikings.
I
So now
know
I've got
it's
no
tough, and then I
content
sort of talked
anymore.
myself out of it, and then I was like,
Yeah, but the thing is, right? The Vikings, I think, the Seahawks have shown a susceptibility to in the games they've lost against teams with a strong running attack, and obviously I'm not saying like the 49ers don't have a strong running attack or anything, but the Vikings have had one of the best rushing attacks in the league. Dalvin Cook's been playing amazing. I think Kirk Cousins, like we said, has the ability now, and he's been playing in that sort of mode at the moment, at least up until the like gearing in toward the playoffs, where I do trust Kirk Cousins to kind of go toe to toe. But then again,
wow, Joe, that's how you get disappointed by people, by trusting Kirk Cousins.
I trust too much, I'm too trusting. That's the problem in my life. But I do, on the other hand, Russell bloody Wilson. He's been playing his absolute heart out this year. The defense is starting to make shape on that Seahawks, and they're starting to build up for like a December push. So I think I'm going to still go with the Vikings. It's a close one.
You almost talked your way out of that at the end.
Yeah, I know. These are 3 close games, actually. These are really good games to look at next week. I mean, next week's games are pretty stacked, to be fair. Usually we have to mention like a silly Colts-Texans game or something.
Yep.
It's a division one.
Not as much.
Yeah.
But I don't think this one actually does have much playoff implications. It's more of a...
No, I think every team in this makes the playoffs, to be honest.
Yeah.
So but it's a good point. Like, I can't imagine. I want to see how the Ravens fare against the 49ers for if that goes to the Super Bowl. I want to see how the Pats fare against the Texans for, just to see how Tom Brady is going to perform if he can get things going, and how good Deshaun Watson is against a really good defense. And I want to see Kirk Cousins at the level he's playing right now play against a Seahawks defense that is starting to gather some steam as they get further on into the season. Jadeveon Clowney's coming out of his shell. Shaquem Griffin, like Shaq, big man Shaq, got his first big play in the league. Just that fumble and I think I can't remember if he recovered it or not, but yeah, for a touchdown. So I think these are amazing games. I'm so looking forward to next week, and I'll be on a date while I'm doing it. Kaboom.
Wait, so what are you actually looking forward to? You just looking forward to next week being here then?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
We all wish Joe well on his weekend of great games and dating.
dating
Which
while
brings us-
watching great games.
Exactly, which brings us to the end of our show today. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you do check out the articles we post on our website, thedropback.com. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram at The Dropback, Facebook at The Dropback UK. I've been Sam,
I've been Joe.
and until next time,
Peace.
goodbye.